Fave at 5 that we call Conversations on the Purple Couch, where we get to have real conversations about real stuff in real life as we walk together as women of faith. I'm Deanna Nowadnick, and our next 5 episodes, we are going to be following God. And today I'm with Rachel Calderon-Young, who is a 2-time, not a 1-time, not a no-time, a 2-time Emmy-award winning journalist. She's also a business owner, a wife, and a mother to 2 delightful young people who get to be with us today. Rachel has followed God in a very special way these last several months, and we have an opportunity this afternoon to walk with her as she has gone from the bright lights of network television following God's light. Rachel, welcome to the Purple Couch.
Thank you for
having
me.
Which is not really purple.
It's not.
It's really 2 stools, but it's the best. It's
purple for courage, right?
Purple for courage. Purple for courage. Rachel, life has changed for you in the last several months. Tell us what's going on with you.
Well, thanks for having me, and I hope that my intention for today is to share my journey, that if anybody is out there who has to make a really difficult decision, that you know that you're not alone. And that's probably what helped me make the decision that I made 6 months ago.
And that's why we want to have conversations on the Purple Couch as we get started here, because all of our walks are not easy at times. And to be able to share in a journey that has ups and downs and that you're in the midst of right now.
Yes, still
what
in
a
it.
blessing to us all.
Thank you. Yeah, so I spent 20 years as a reporter and anchor of local TV news, and most recently here in Seattle. It was the only dream I ever dreamed for my life, and I'm grateful to say I did it for 20 years. You know, it was not easy. There were a lot of naysayers, and there's also it's a difficult profession, but there's a lot of professions that are difficult. And over the course of 20 years, it does become part of who you are. Think about that whenever we introduce ourselves to people. Hi, I'm Rachel, and what do you do? And for me, for 20 years, I said I was a local news anchor reporter, and there's a conversation that usually follows after that. And what do you do? And so over the last couple of months, that has changed. 6 months ago, I decided that
Has it been 6 months?
It's been 6 months.
Okay.
So in May, I decided that it was time that I needed to step away from television news, and it was not a decision that came overnight. I would probably say it took about 6 years of really thinking it over. Yeah, but seriously thinking it over and praying over that major decision was probably a good 3-4 month process.
So a 6 month.
6 year.
6 years.
Yes. So, and the reason I say 6 years is because my daughter is 6 years old. And it was when she was born that I started already thinking about, is television news all I should be doing, can be doing? What else could I be doing with my
So 6
profession?
months, what was weighing on your heart? What was happening in your life to say, okay, now's the moment that I think I need to make a change?
Well, a couple of things were happening. I mean, let me just paint a picture for you. for 12 years, for 12 out of my 20 years in TV news, I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go into the TV studio by 3 or 3:30 in the morning, to
2 a.m.
to be on the air at 4:30. And I say that because if you work if you're a firefighter, or if you're any law enforcement, even in the medical profession, there are jobs that are a 24-hour sort of position.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that wake up at this crazy hour to go to their jobs. I just happen to have done it for 12 years out of my 20. And so it was taxing. I mean, it's taxing to get up.
You're talking to someone who gets up at 6 a.m. Yes, it's taxing.
So it was taxing, and but what you see on television is the highlight reel. So the audience doesn't know that you've only had 5 hours of sleep, or that you've got a sick kid at home, and you're like, we just got to get off the air so I could get home. I mean, there were just things that were sort of pulling at me over the last several years that I just started thinking outside. You know, if I were to leave television news, what would it look like, and what would I do? Because again, this was the only dream I ever had for my life, and I didn't want to take it for granted. There's a lot of people that wanted to do what I did for a living, and either didn't have the opportunity, or maybe the job wasn't there. So I really felt blessed to be in that position. But I would say it was around my birthday, which is March, that I just felt really pulled, that I just couldn't sustain it anymore. The self-care wasn't there. I mean, you probably remember, I was constantly exhausted. I wasn't even mentally present for the things that I was physically present for. So I might be at a Fave Lifestyles event on a Thursday night, and I'm
watching your clock going,
half awake.
I should be in bed now.
Yes, and not processing the conversations I'm having with people. So imagine being married to me, my husband, and how he dealt with someone who was just mentally checked out and tired. The mom that I was to my kids, and then I was running a business at the same time.
And I know enough about you to know that if you were at work, you were bringing your A game. You were all in all that you do. You know, whether it was as a wife, as a friend, and it's to the point where
you learn how to turn it on when you needed to. Like half the time I was up running on adrenaline, because that's what live television is. It can be adrenaline. And to be fair, I mean, I really enjoyed my career. I really, as crazy as it sounds to wake up at 2:00 in the morning, I loved morning television.
There's
I
no
still
traffic.
do. Yes, there's no traffic, for me at least. But I just love connecting with viewers that way and telling people's stories. But the more I saw my personal health suffering, my mental health suffering, I just knew that I had to make a change, and something was going to give. It wasn't going to be my marriage. It wasn't going to be my physical health. It wasn't going to be my relationship with my kids. My business was doing great. My television career was doing great. So which one of these is going to have to go for now? And one thing I've learned over the last 6 months is, like, it doesn't have to be permanent. I mean, this is a decision I made for this season of my life. And I was thinking just on my way over here, when's the last time I did take the foot off the pedal? And that was after my son was born, and he's now 10. I stayed home for 19 months. At the time I was a reporter in Los Angeles, and, you know, came home after the hospital from having him, and I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for 19 months before I went back on the air. And then my daughter was born 3 years later, and so I took a hiatus at 9 years into my career for a year and a half, and then 19 years into my career, into my broadcasting career, I decided to come home and work from home, the business that I have. And that was one thing I realized I could not do, is just not work. Like, I actually needed to have work in my life. I have a nice balance between my professional life and my personal life, and I just needed something that would allow me to take care of myself. And that's one thing over the last 6 months that I am adamant about. I mean, I exercise 6 days a week now with complete intensity and focus. It's not mailing it in, and I've noticed
which is hard to do when
it
you
is.
exercise.
It's very. I feel the endorphins. I just feel the benefits of it. I have a morning routine that I do not. I try not to waver too much out of, because I get such benefit from it. So I'm still up at 5 a.m. I like being up early before the rest of the house, and that's when I pray and I journal and I meditate. And then I do hit the gym, and I try to be home by 7. And then I'm mom, and I focus on them and wife. And I get them out the door for the day, and then I start my work day. And I usually will have a conference call as early as 9, because it's noon on the East Coast. So I still have a pretty rigid routine, because I need that in my life. That was something I knew I would need.
It's been 6 months.
Yeah.
And you are right now very articulate.
Yeah, I'm not a sobbing mess like I was 6
that's
months
what,
ago.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
You know, as you look back, I'm guessing it hasn't always been very smooth.
No.
You know, as soon as you said, I'm out of here, All right, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah. So
what did you do during the darker moments where you said, gosh, what am I doing?
Well, yes. I think one thing I've realized is it is a form of grief.
Yeah.
When you step away from something that you have always known, maybe you didn't love it all the time. I mean, I didn't love my career every day, but for the most part, I loved it. We were good to each other for a time. There were real high highs, and there were some big challenges. But I would say after that initial shock was over of like ripping the Band-Aid off and handing in a resignation and announcing it on social media and making sure the whole world knew, and of course answering all the emails of why are you leaving, where are you going, and once that Band-Aid was sort of ripped off, then you're kind of like your wound is just really fresh. And I had a number of speaking engagements that were lined up just coincidentally right after this major change in my life. So I really wasn't in the best place, but I also feel like that's the gift that God gave me. Like, you're going through something right now that people can relate to, so use your voice in this way. Let your mess be your message. I know that Robin Roberts has said that many times. And I'm like, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I left my career for it could be permanently. I don't know. I mean, we never really know. I've had some opportunities to come back and revisit it, but I'm just not ready for that. And so I'm in the days when you asked like when it was tough, what did I do? I got very still. I've spent a lot of time in prayer. I mean, this is not easy. And my husband has heard a lot from me, and I know that that's been challenging.
We love our guys.
Yes. We've gone through couples counseling. I highly recommend that. If you're going through any sort of major change and you have a spouse or a partner or anybody that's with you on that, bring them along, because they may not be able to process exactly. He didn't get it. He was like, you left a job, big deal. I'm like, no, I left a career, I left my identity, I left this, like, and he just couldn't get it, but now he does. And now whenever I do have those, I had a moment earlier today, and he was like, talk to me, what's going on? I'm like, I don't need you to fix it right now, don't fix.
I just want to be sad.
I just need to listen. And then, as you know, I think it was last Monday, I was having another moment, and I felt very uneasy. Where am I going with this? What's next? And then he calls and he goes, what are you doing at 1 o'clock? And I said, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on at 3. And he said, meet me at church. So we got together and we sat in our quiet church and we just prayed. I mean, he didn't ask for me to talk about it. And so I'm really grateful for his patience right now, and also guiding me to God's light when maybe I don't see it, when I want to turn it off.
And you've talked a couple times about stillness.
Yeah.
And how we are so, just on a normal day, surrounded by a lot of noise that comes at us in so many different ways. And knowing to get yourself into the quiet. Mm-hmm. How can we hear God? How can we know God if we don't have an opportunity to hear Him? If we don't find the quiet.
So I can just share how it came about for me. This might not work for everyone, but during Lent, so the 40 days leading up to Easter, we're encouraged to give up something and to sacrifice something. So you'll hear people who give up Facebook or chocolate or something like that, to get very still and to realize what the sacrifice was on Easter Sunday, the significance of that. And I remember sitting in church and thinking, like, that's not going to help me understand the significance of Easter Sunday. So a friend of mine suggested, she's like, how about every day you commit to 20 minutes of prayer, and do it in chapel. So stop at church on your way home from work. And I was like, okay, now that's commitment. That will be sacrifice, right? Because that's like 20 minutes out of my busy day. And so I started it, and I remember day one being like, okay, I don't know what I'm praying for. I don't know what's going on.
Need some help, God.
And then by like week 1 and week 2, then I found myself in there just letting it all go and just giving my worries and releasing that to Him and feeling at peace knowing that, okay, there's something burning in here and I don't know what this is. And then I asked for God to reveal it to me. I said, what are you trying to show me? And then there was a major change that took place at the TV station I was working at, and that involved changing my position. And I knew it was a job I could do. I mean, I'd done it for 20 years. It wasn't like, oh, they're putting me in a situation I can't handle. However, what I saw was that my days were changing. I wasn't coming home till 1 or 2 in the afternoon on some days. And the version of me that was coming out was pretty awful. It was not, it was, yeah, they can probably remember. It was not good. And so by Easter Sunday, after those 40 days of just real silent, intentional time with him, I found, okay, I'm going to be able to, march in there, tell my supervisors what's going on. And, I think they were stunned when I said, I need to step away from this. I need to take care of myself. I think they were concerned I was going to another television station, but I said, no, this is really for self-care and to be the best version of me, for my husband and my kids, and to figure out what's next. I happen to have a business already up and running. I'm celebrating 4 years this month. It's a huge milestone. For any of you who've started a business, you know that any milestone is something to celebrate. So to say that I've been in business 4 years, that I've been doing it while running full-time at another job and raising children, I just think about what I've sacrificed along the way to make it to that point. So when it was time to step away from TV, I knew I already had something going for myself, and something I've been very passionate about, and I know that God put it in my hands, was to make sure I had options. So that if I ever was, back up against the wall, I knew I could pivot out of that. And so I truly believe that my business was such a blessing from him, that it was brought into my life at a time that maybe I didn't necessarily need it. I didn't necessarily
appreciate or understand.
I didn't need to start a business 4 years ago. I was really doing well in my career, but he knew I would need it one day. And so now that's what I focus on. And it's amazing to be literally sitting here with you, looking you in the eye and not yawning and not thinking about, wow, I'm so tired. And, so I just see the change in the last 6 months. I don't know what the next 6 months is going to bring, but I've been doing a number of speaking engagements, using my voice in a different way. I'll be doing some radio next month as well. And so, the broadcast mic for now is hung up. If I ever want to go back to it, I could, but right now I just feel like what a gift I have, that I think I was so scared to make the choice a year ago. I would have said absolutely not. But now that I've been 6 months out, I certainly don't regret it. And if there's anything I would have regretted is not trying.
And what I find amazing as we wrap up here is we've all had some kind of a transition, whether it's from a job, relationship, school, and it can be challenging. Mm-hmm. And there is such a peace about you as you talk about it, even not knowing what tomorrow might actually look like. It's unfolding, it's still unfolding for you, mm-hmm. but there's a peace. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you. One thing I do daily is I do write down in a gratitude journal, or in my journal, I focus on 3 to 5 things that I'm thankful for that specific day. And I've really been doing that probably for the last 5 months. And that's really gotten me out of my mess. It really has, because there are days that are really hard, but when you are setting aside time, intentional time, of just thinking about things in your present moment, what are you grateful for that minute, the abundance will come to you. Like, you cannot be sad for very long when you're thinking about how great you have whatever that is for that moment. So even yesterday, I had a friend who randomly called me on a Friday morning and said, hey, I don't know what you're doing today, but do you want to go for a walk? And I thought, yes, I would love to.
do that.
And we walked and we talked about, the upcoming holidays with Thanksgiving, and our in-laws are visiting and how we're doing and all these things. And then at the end of that 1 hour, just 1 hour with a friend who reached out, I was just so filled with just gratitude that I actually could do that. And that it was just so simple. So, you know, I don't think we take, when I think back to who I was a year ago, 6 months ago, when I was just in a mess and wasn't able to take care of myself, that's a message from him, that you've got to slow down. And not everybody can walk away from their job, but you can eliminate something in your life and take a real hard look at things and say, you know, what's not serving me well right now for this season of my life? Maybe I put that aside, revisit that later, and come back and create choices for yourself so that you can do that.
On behalf of Fave, thank you. And speaking of gratitude, again, you know, when we get together for our events, our meet and greets, we clean up really nicely, we smile beautifully, and I think it's easy to forget that we all have challenges that we're working through, opportunities we're not yet realizing. Some days feel really hard, some days don't, and to be able to share openly and honestly, what a benefit and blessing to us all.
Well, I can't wait to revisit this issue 6 months from now or a year from now. Who knows?
All right.
Right?
It'll be a journey that continues. We love that. We love that. Thank you for joining us today. Next Sunday, we will be back. We will continue to follow God. I will have the opportunity to speak with Cindy Toledo, who has followed God through grief in the most beautiful, wonderful, God-following way. So join us.
Bye.
We really do want to be done.